Hey there you guys, so I'm going to be reviewing Dinner with a Vampire, which was written by Abigail Gibbs. So just some basic info, this is a paranormal romance novel and the paranormal creatures in it are vampires, hence the title, Dinner with a Vampire. Alrighty, so our main character is Violet Lee. The book starts out and Violet is out late at night. She witnesses a mass murder in Trafalgar Square and then she gets kidnapped by some vampires. That would be where this book begins. Like I said earlier, our main character is Violet Lee. So the person who kidnaps her and later becomes her love interest is Caspar Varn. And there's so much to say about both of them. Let's talk about Violet. Violet was a very frustrating character to me, and the reasons is I found her to be very self-conceited, self-centered, just very dense, and it's okay to be dense about things, but dense to the extreme, borderlining just stupidity. As the more and more time passed and the novel kept going, I just really viewed her as a fool. I'm like, you are the world's biggest fool. It was just so frustrating because she was such a weak individual, and there's nothing wrong with having characters that have flaws. I love it when my characters have flaws, but when I read a novel and I go through it, I expect there to be character development. I expect by the time that I have reached the end that the character is no longer who they were at the very beginning of the novel. That's character progression, that's character development, that's what I expect. I am perfectly okay with not agreeing and not understanding why the character does certain things, or they react to things, or they do these things, or this or that, or all these things. I don't have to understand it because it is all a part of their journey of change to where they get to the end. There was none of that with Violet. She was exactly who she was at the end as she was at the beginning. She was still weak. She was still just borderline, just making the world's most illogical decisions. Alright guys, so let's talk about Caspar Varn. There's a lot of stuff that I can say about him too, and none of it really positive. I found him to be very violent, and in some ways, you know, that's to be expected because, oh, he's a vampire, blah blah blah. But no, I found him to be very violent, very abusive. He's completely a womanizer and very sexually charged and condescending, and just the things that he would do to Violet. I'm like, no, that is not okay. You know, that I would consider to be pressuring her to do something. And personally, because I feel like that you have to have a sense of control that she is not comfortable with and she's trying to escape from you, that is not okay. I'd say that Caspar's character development through the novel is the same rate as Violet's, which is non-existent. Even after they've transitioned into this fact of where we like each other or attracted to each other, let's, you know. I couldn't move past all this other stuff about them. Like, no, there hasn't been enough change for me to not feel the same way I felt about you and him at the beginning. And now you're expecting me to care about this and agree with it and just all these things, and it's like, no. Let's talk about some other things that I noticed in this book. I felt like I was asking myself on multiple occasions while reading this book whether or not it had an editor, because the pacing was awkward and strange. There seemed to be humongous gaps in the plot. I know that I'm not someone who picks up on grammar mistakes or misspelling or all these little things, but when I do pick up on those kinds of things, I know that it's bad. Like, very, very bad. I found a lot of the book to be very confusing. Things weren't explained, and then by the ending you had these other things that supernatural beings that were put into play. It was very awkward. I would have to say that if my personality wasn't like how it is, which is that when I start something, I really try just to finish it, which means I soldier through things. Like if I'm doing something and I'm exhausted, I'm like, no, I can keep going. I'm gonna try to finish this right now. And like that's how I am with books as well. Even if it's something that I'm not enjoying, I'm like, there's hope that it could get better. And I just kept hoping, and it didn't. And I'd have to say that if I was in a different situation when I was reading this book, I would have probably put it down and never picked it up, because I found myself sitting in my window seat on my airplane in the middle of my 13-hour flight being like, well, if I stop reading this, what am I really going to do? Alright you guys, so I gave Dinner with a Vampire 1 star out of 5. I hated this book. I would never recommend it to a friend, which means I cannot recommend it to you and that you read it. I'd have to say that so far this has been the most awful book that I have read the entire year. And I'd have to even add to that maybe the worst book that I've read in a very long time. That is my review. I hope that this was helpful. If you've read this book and you liked it, please tell me down below what were its redeeming qualities to you, why you liked it. And if you read this book and you didn't like it, please let me know down below why. I'm just going to ask that everyone be respectful as we share our opinions, because that's what this whole review is. It is my opinion about this book. I hope that you guys found this review helpful, and thank you so much for giving me some of your time. Until I see you next time, peace out, Girl Scouts.